Ambassador Yechiel Leiter, senators, members of Congress, honored dignitaries, dear friends, shalom to all of you from Jerusalem. I'm so deeply honored to address this gathering, marking 50 years since one of the lowest moments in the United Nations history, the adoption of the shameful Zionism Racism resolution. I vividly recall my late father, Chaim Herzog, then Israel's ambassador at the United Nations, telling me that as he rose to the podium to respond to this libel, in his capacity as the ambassador of Israel, he felt the weight of Jewish history on his shoulders. The generations who prayed for Jerusalem, the survivors who rebuilt their lives in our homeland, and the children living in and yet unborn, whose future depended on a strong and secure Jewish state. He stood and proudly declared, Zionism is nothing more and nothing less than the Jewish people's sense of origin and destination in the land. In a moment that came to symbolize moral clarity, he declared that it was the United Nations itself that stood accused. And he tore the resolution to pieces. 16 years later, Resolution 3379 was revoked. But repealing a lie does not erase its echo. The dangerous falsehood suggesting that Zionism is racism reverberates to this very day, especially in the wake of the brutal October 7th massacre on Israel. We have seen again how anti-Semitic libels spread swiftly, from international forums to parliaments, campuses, city streets, and the web. And we've watched it show up as terror against Jews and Jewish targets in Israel and throughout the universe. But we've also seen the Jewish people and our friends and supporters from every corner of the globe rise like lions. Our response today, as it was those years ago, is proud and principles. Zionism is the national liberation movement of the Jewish people, rooted in our unique and rich history as a people, and on the principles of justice, equality, and human values that we've carried throughout the ages. We insist today, as then, Zionists are the finest of human beings. They were those who were brutalized, assaulted, and kidnapped on October 7th. They were those who ran to the front lines at first call to protect others. They're those who showed up for one another in countless ways, and those who continue to show up now to build and rebuild with a deep faith in life and a spirit that will not submit. Today, as then, we are deeply grateful to our greatest ally, the United States of America, to President Donald Trump and his administration, for standing up with Israel in defending these truths and values, and for their critical contribution in bringing about the release of our hostages. I remind us all that we must not rest until we secure the release of every last one of them and bring him to dignified eternal rest. I want to express my gratitude to all the members of Congress, to all partners and friends who are gathered here, and especially to Congressman Joe Wilson for his tireless work combating anti-Israel discrimination at the United Nations. I thank Bnei Brit International, its CEO, my dear friend Dan Mariashin, as well as AJIRI-BBI, its board chair Richard Shifter, and executive director, my dear friend Gil Capon. So, dear friends, 50 years after my father's stand at the United Nations, we reaffirm his message. The Jewish people will never bow to lies and libels. We will continue to build, to defend, to seek peace, and to work together with our allies to shine the light of truth through the darkness of hate. Thank you all very much, and may we go together from strength to strength.